A great challenge and one we're certainly looking forward to.
Okay, thank you, Coach. We'll go ahead and open up for questions. Let's start here on the second row.
I know you talked about it a little bit, but can you talk about how playing on ESPN and it's the only game that day, how it'll affect the program, help the program moving forward?
Well, it's a great, I use the word opportunity. It's going to give us great exposure. There's 35 bowl games, I believe. We're playing in the 33rd of the 35 bowl games, and it's always an honor to play a bowl game in January. And again, the way it works out, where it's the really the only college football game tomorrow, ESPN, 12 o'clock noon kickoff. Again, an opportunity for us to go out again and really showcase our student athletes. We look at it to a point as a reward for the hard work and dedication that they put in this past semester. But again, it's going to be a fun to go out and just show everybody what Houston football is all about.
Other questions for Houston? We'll stay on the second row, left side.
Coach Levine, I guess you got a lot of seniors graduating, of course, and mainly Zach McMillan, of course, as well. And could you just talk about your relationship you've grown with him in the past 4 years since, coming out, he was undersized as well. I talked about it with him before.
Coming out of high school or college?
Coming out of high school. I'm sorry. So, could you just describe the relationship you've had with him? And knowing that you recruited him and stuff like that.
Absolutely. When I've told him this before, and a couple of other seniors, that it seems like just yesterday I was sitting in their living room as an assistant at Houston recruiting them. So I personally recruited Zach, and I can remember like it was yesterday being at practice at Dulles High School down there in Sugar Land, Texas, and standing there with Coach Creech and watching him practice. And so our relationship goes pretty far back. He's got a great family, and we've become very close. I knew during the recruiting process that he would be a captain for us one day, and again, by his teammates, he was elected that this year. So he's had a great career, not only on the field, but certainly in our community and as a student at the University of Houston as well. He's represented our program extremely, extremely well. And I tell all of our young men, I probably talk about this a little bit too much, but I talk about time quite a bit and how quickly it goes. And sometimes the young guys look at me like, Coach, you say that all the time, and it's the truth. It flies by. It seems like he just got here. I can vividly remember specific conversations he and I had in his living room as a senior in high school. And again, tomorrow at this time, he'll be a former player, if you will, former student athlete from our program, and again leaves a legacy from our program, leaving it in a much better place now than it was when he arrived.
When this matchup was announced, what was the initial feedback that you got? What kind of name does Vanderbilt football have around Houston?
Well, Vanderbilt football has got a great name, and again, I always I'll use the word smile, I guess, for lack of a better term, when there's matchups, whether it's in bowl season or not, at any level, and you see on the ticker, for instance, all-time series, or last time these two teams played in 1929, this team won. I mean, to say Houston's been in X amount of bowl games and Vanderbilt's been in 7 has really no bearing on what's going to be the outcome of this football game tomorrow. So we've got a tremendous amount of respect for Coach Franklin, his staff. When you talk about Vanderbilt and the season they have, some victories come to mind off the top of my head over Florida, Georgia, Tennessee. Even the 4 that they've come up short on were very close games as well. So again, we've got a great amount of respect, and the thing that you do as a football coach when you're evaluating an opponent is, regardless of history, tradition, you put the videotape on, and certainly this time of the year you got the opportunity to watch them play in 12 football games. So they've got very, very talented student athletes in all 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. So there's many reasons why they had such a tremendous season this year. You look at last year, they won 9 games. So it's going to be, again, I said this earlier, a great challenge for us as a program. They're in the Southeastern Conference. Certainly everybody knows that. I think people could argue that it's one of the top, if not the top conference in the country. So again, it's something we're certainly looking forward to. It seems like long ago that we played the day after Thanksgiving in our final regular season game, but I like the preparation we've had up to this point, and I like the focus of our student athletes this week.
Other questions for Houston? Right side, second row. Drew?
Hey, Coach, I know I've asked you about your quarterbacks. It's a game where the two quarterbacks starting in this game were not the game one starters. What did you do, I guess, to kind of help these players ease the transition from David to John this season?
Well, when you look at our schedule, and when our schedule came out last spring, I guess the topic of conversation is, what do you think about your schedule? And once it comes out, there's no moving around opponents and when your bye weeks are. But the way the schedule came out, we had a bye week after our second game, and we played 2 more games, and we had a second bye week after our 4th overall game. So in the first 6 weeks of our season, we had 2 bye weeks. So we were able to develop both Greg and John. And again, unfortunately, losing David Pyland, our returning 2-year starter in the first half of the second game, we did give John some experience in our opener against Southern. And then we were able to coach them with the mentality at that point, with those bye weeks early on, of now both John and Greg are playing for us significantly now with the loss of David. So I think with the way the schedule worked with those 2 bye weeks early, kind of gave us a little bit more, I don't want to, maybe advantage is not the right word, but it gave us an opportunity to develop them more than if we had not had bye weeks early in the season.
So other side, second row, did you have a question? Go ahead.
For Tony, 2 years ago when you went to the Ticket City Bowl game, I mean, you were just announced the head coach, and is it any different now that you've had a full season going to a bowl game versus 2 years ago when it was real quick to happen?
I think it's quite different in that a couple things. That was, I used the word whirlwind quite a bit 2 years ago. Being named head coach, we played a bowl game 2 weeks later, and trying to make those plans, never having really done that before in terms of the organization leading into a bowl game. Now, as you look fast forward 2 years to where we are currently, I was able to go back and draw on those experiences that I felt like helped make us successful in the game against Penn State, and really tried to work the organizational part of it, the itinerary leading up to the game tomorrow, off of some things we did, as that was a January 2nd game back then as well.
Other questions for Houston?
Kenneth Farrow's here too. Are you sitting behind this trophy here? So make sure I move this trophy over there and see you.
We'll stay next door here on the second row. Go ahead.
Chris, ask Farrow. I'm not leaving until someone asks Kenneth Farrow a question.
Well, I actually did have a question for Farrell. I know the running game, early in the season y'all had some balance. How do y'all get that back in this bowl game against a tough defense?
I think that's something that we've been working on a lot throughout these last couple weeks at practice. And Coach Bush, we can see it during our team sessions at practice. We've been having a lot more physical style of play and quick tempo and everything like that. So I think the running game will come back for us this game, and we'll be able to have a nice balanced attack for the game tomorrow.
I think people need to understand Coach Bush was our running back coach this past year, so it's been amazing to me. We're not even going to throw the ball tomorrow in the game. We're going to run it every down and really rotate those guys in.
Go ahead.
And I guess for Tony and Zach, I know both of y'all have came in with. I don't think you've had a punter other than Richie Leone since you've been here. I don't think. Can you talk about what he's meant to the team and what he's meant to y'all playing with him all these years?
Go ahead.
He's basically a defender for us. And, he always, when you're on defense, you're trying to defend the goal line. He does an excellent job of pinning, opposing teams deep. And, he came in with me, and I've gotten really close with him. And, I just tell him all the time, don't forget me when you make it big in the NFL. So, he does an excellent job for us, and always has been. And, he got host in some of these awards this year. And, I think he was definitely deserving of some. And, I'm really going to miss him as far as a teammate and a player.
Coach, any thoughts?
Well, and he's exactly right in terms of he's a young man. His hard work and preparation. We talk to our student athletes about becoming an expert at your position, and he's done that at the punting position. And he's become so reliable that if he does punt the football and it goes into the end zone, people look at each other like, what just happened there? So he's been a special team. Certainly has been my background. And he's another young man. Seems like just yesterday I was flying to Atlanta, renting a car, and driving up to Roswell 6 consecutive weeks to recruit Richie. And again, a tremendous representative of our program, and can't say enough great things about him. Seems like he just got here, and again, tomorrow at this time he'll be a former student athlete.